Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships, whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind. God is concerned about that which concerns you. And so we are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And in case you were wondering what I was doing when the broadcast went live, had a little technical difficulty trying to get our monthly contributor, Rebecca Buva, licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist, in on Zoom today. So she should be joining us any moment. I just want to say to all of our listeners and viewers, we want you to stay connected with us throughout the week on our internet radio station, WKAPfaith.com, where we play music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And in addition to that, I want to remind everyone that we are now, New Life International Community Development Corporation is now your private money lender broker. Having a little difficulty, but you can contact us by texting on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. And I'm determined to get this resolved. We're just having a little bit of technical difficulty, but I'm going to get Becca in with us because you all have been waiting to hear from her. And so I want to make certain that we don't miss her today, because I know that how important it is to all of us to make certain that we are healthy and that we have good nutrition. We know our numbers, that we can do everything that we can possibly do. Our responsibility is try to do our part to stay healthy and let God do the rest. I am just trying to make certain that we get Becca live with us. She should be in any moment. We were just having, as I mentioned, a little bit of technical difficulty. So let me say this to all of our listeners and viewers. We're coming up on the weekend. As you know, I serve as senior pastor of New Life Christian Center, 400 Hillcrest Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. So if you're ever in our area, we invite you to come and worship with us at New Life Christian Center. Service begins at 10 a.m., 400 Hillcrest Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. And Becca is with us due to no fault of Becca's, but to my own fault. And Becca, hopefully you can hear me.
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, excellent, because I had a little fat finger issue here. And we had a little problem with getting Becca the code, and it was all due to me. So I have to tell everyone, Becca's been waiting patiently because we were texting each other. She was saying, it's not coming up, and just trying to make sure we get in. So Becca, they've been waiting for you, but all due to my delay. It's always good to see you. We welcome you right here in 3D as always every month. Our listeners and viewers have been waiting for you, and so I'm going to turn it over to Becca today so that you can hear from Becca.
All right. Well, as always, thank you so much for letting me be a part of all of your lives. I'm really excited to be able to share some of my knowledge with all of you. And hopefully if you can just take away one piece of information, that's a win for me. So All right, well, I wanted to talk this month because it is National Grilling Month, and we had a few questions last month about, summer food ideas and grilling and what to do at, gatherings in the summer. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about not only, healthful food choices to eat during the summertime, but also some healthy food practices for food safety to keep in mind during this time of year too. So we'll just start off with the food stuff, the healthful food stuff. So
Yeah.
the big overarching themes are, we want to try and go with lean proteins. We want to incorporate veggies. Veggies are so good on the grill. So I want to give you a few ideas for how to incorporate those. Some easy salads that you can do on the grill or, just as a side dish for your meal that you're having on the grill. And then desserts that we can grill up. So I'll start
Okay,
with a few.
Becca, can I just interrupt for 1 second and ask this question? You mentioned veggies on the grill.
Mhm.
For those who might not be experienced grillers, how do you and what do you recommend to use to be able to grill vegetables on the grill?
So honestly, there's so many different vegetables that you can do on the grill. Something you want to keep in mind is like when slicing them, we want to make sure we're slicing them large enough so they're not going to fall through because I've definitely run into that issue before. But really anything, I'm going to give some specific examples for what veggies are great, but probably corn is going to be a big one. Eggplant is one of my very favorites, portobello mushrooms. So going for those like bigger veggies is always safe because those are going to have a hard time slipping through the grill grates. But we can talk about other ways. Another thing sometimes I do is I'll just put a layer of foil down. That way I don't have to worry about anything. They also make these little like cages that you can chop up your veggies and stick them in. Of course, kebabs, that's another way to do it. But I'll get to some more specific examples in just a second here.
And I didn't mean to interrupt, but I
All
just
right.
know I had gotten a communication from someone and said they're having trouble grilling last month. They're having trouble grilling vegetables on the grill. So now
No,
you made
that's
a very good point. The larger ones and they do make pans for that. Becca mentioned you can even just as simple as put down
yeah, just a
aluminum
piece of
foil. I'm not
foil.
going to interrupt, but that was a
That's
good one.
definitely a good thing. And something else to keep in mind is cooking time because with veggies, some cook really fast and some take a lot longer to cook. So we want to make sure we separate those out. And if you're gonna do like kebab style or something like that, you don't want to put your like cherry tomatoes that cook really fast next
Mm,
to, a piece of potato, for instance, it takes a lot longer to cook because those tomatoes are going to burn right up while your potato gets to where it needs to be. Either
right.
you're going to have burnt tomatoes or a super hard potato. So
Got
keeping
it.
that in mind as well.
All right.
All right, well, let's start. Well, I guess we'll go with the veggies now. So, peppers, whether they're red peppers, green peppers, yellow, those were always great. Corn on the cob is great on the grill. I mentioned eggplant before. Any of your squashes or zucchinis are good. Those are going to be one of the examples that cooks a lot faster because the water content is very high. You can also do sweet potatoes, tomatoes, whether they be like the little cherry tomatoes or the bigger tomatoes. Mushrooms, I said before, portobellos, those are the really big ones. Those are great on the grill. Onions are always great. And I definitely, with any of these, I recommend seasoning them with like olive oil, herbs, spices, things like that for flavor. Plus the olive oil is going to give them that nice roasted effect too. You can put them directly on the grill grate or on a piece of foil, like I mentioned, or in a kebab, and just cook them till they're tender. So it's gonna vary pretty greatly. You can probably Google it to get a time idea as to what, to shoot for different veggies, but you'll figure it out very quickly which ones go faster and which ones take a little bit longer. And
Nice.
then, a great thing to kind of play around with is the marinades. So, I would just recommend Googling some great veggie grill marinades to use, but things like balsamic vinegar are great, garlic, olive oil, ground mustard is really good on grilled veggies, and just different fresh herb mixes too are all going to be great. So those are definitely some good veggies to try. And then in terms of Proteins, we want to try and choose lean proteins, of course, because they're going to have less saturated fat, but still have plenty of that good protein. So lean cuts of beef, so maybe like 90% or higher ground beef if you're making burgers. Pork, anything that ends in loin is going to be a leaner version, so that goes for pork and meat too. And then skinless poultry, you can do fish on the grill. Anything's going to be good. If you haven't tried them before, turkey burgers can be really yummy too. And instead of just going for like a plain ground beef burger or ground turkey burger with like your egg and your flour and your basic things mixed in, you can really play around to boost the flavor in a lot of really fun, interesting ways. So I have a recipe here that I want to read off. It says for turkey burgers, add cilantro, shallots, or chili sauce.
Can
You
we
can
post
also
this
mix
later?
in, what's that?
I said, can we post this later also?
Yes, I will send this to
Okay.
you. So cilantro, shallots, and chili sauce is one recommended mixture. Another is more of like a Greek style. So you add in feta, Kalamata olives, oregano, and pepper. And then if you want, instead of serving it on a bun, you could serve it in a pita, add in some cucumbers and tomatoes. That actually sounds really good, and I might try that myself this weekend. And then a few other protein ideas to try. If you've never tried before, this might be a good way to play around. Tofu, tempeh, bean burgers, those are all great plant-based, vegetarian, vegan options that are really great on the grill too. With tofu, I would just recommend slicing it pretty largely again, so it doesn't slip through the grill grates. They do make pre-made black bean burgers, or you can make your own based with the recipe that's online. Those are all going to be really, really good protein options to try on the grill. All right, let's move on to some salad ideas. So summertime salads, there's fresh fruit, fresh vegetables this time of year. There's so much good things to, add into your meals. One of my favorites is a caprese salad. So it's just basically a sliced tomato with sliced mozzarella. You can grill the tomatoes if you'd like, or you can just do them raw. You drizzle them with some olive oil, maybe a little salt and pepper, and some fresh basil, and there you go. That's all you need. It's a great side to add to a meal. It's so tasty. It can be an appetizer or serve with the meal. We can do like fruit salads combined with fennel. So if you've never tried fennel before, it's a really, really tasty root vegetable. It has almost like a black licorice taste, which personally, I'm not a fan of black licorice, but I love fennel. So I definitely, encourage anyone to try it. It's unique, but it's definitely a very cool vegetable flavor, especially if you mix it in with fruit. It's a nice balance there. We can do peaches added in. Avocados are great in the summertime. You can do an avocado salad with like cubed avocado. You can add in tomato, onion for more of like a guacamole style, or you can just do with like cucumbers and tomatoes. Lots of different ways you can play around with that. And then
Cool.
that kind of leads us into our segue of dessert, which this time of year, grilled fruit is such a great dessert to have. You can do kebabs just like you would with your veggies with the fruit, with like pineapple, peaches. Those are two of my favorites on the grill. Watermelon's also really great on the grill. Something else maybe to try would be balsamic marinated strawberries that you could grill too, or have raw. So and maybe a little fresh mint in there along with that. So some definitely some interesting new ideas to try, and I will send these all to you, Pastor Pope, so those can get posted.
We can post it. Yeah, what's really interesting, Becca is a licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist, but she's also giving us some really good recipes. And I have to admit, Becca, I'm going to say when you were going through a lot of those, so if you have food allergies, like certain things, I have food allergies to shellfish and mushrooms, but I got to tell you, those black bean burgers you just mentioned sound like something I might want to try because I love black beans.
Yeah. They're
So
good.
I'm going to have to take a look for those. But one of the things I've been doing lately from time to time is I've been using lettuce wrap.
Oh, yeah.
Now that's something I hadn't been doing before. However, my wife does them regularly. But I tried this because, my doctor, and I'm going somewhere with this, but my doctor said to me that when I turned 60, that I could only eat 2 slices of bread a day.
Oh, gosh.
And then when I turned 65, he told me I could only eat 1 slice of bread a day.
Oh, wow.
And I asked him a couple of questions. I said, well, Doc, here's a question I have to ask. Why would I want to make a sandwich with only 1 slice of bread? He said, no, Reverend, what you do is you make a whole sandwich, cut it in half, put half in a baggie, eat half one day and half the other. That's 1 slice of bread.
There you go.
So, now that I've gone over the 65 mark and he keeps coming up with these new things. So I'm thinking when I go back now, he's going to tell me, and as a matter of fact, I have my annual physical scheduled for this month. Everyone should do the same. If you haven't done it already, if you do it earlier in the year, that's great. As Becca always tells us, know your numbers. But I have my annual physical scheduled. And I have to tell you that the lettuce wrap thing has been working out for me because I love bread, especially good bread. And if I'm not going to be able to eat bread, but I want to eat something that's a bread substitute, the lettuce has been working for me. And so what I mentioned to Becca on the previous broadcast, and because we know each other well, I can share these things with Becca because everything she's sharing with us has been such a blessing. It's so helpful. And I've been able to not only lose the weight I desired to lose, but to maintain it because of using the tips that you've been giving us. And then, of course, I know I'm married to the food police, but the reality is everyone should make notes and take this information down that Becca's providing for us because it's going to be life-changing. It's going to help us all to be healthy and do our part. So, I always say there's some things we may not have control over. God is in control of everything, but we may not have control over. But if we do our part, we will find we have more control over our health and wellness than we think we do. So, a lot has been coming in because people knew you were coming on today, Becca. And so one of the things that people have been talking about in our boomer generation is that right now, arthritis is an issue. And what do you recommend, particularly in these summer months when we all love to eat and we all love good food, right? What do you recommend to maybe address some issues with our arthritis that us baby boomers are dealing with?
Yeah, well, hydration, that is going to be one of the most important things because if our body isn't properly hydrated, you're not going to have the fluids you need to kind of lubricate those joints. And with, I'm not a physical therapist, of course, so I don't know all the terminology for that, but I do know that hydration is very, very important for that. Making sure that we're avoiding inflammatory foods and choosing more of those anti-inflammatory foods is going to be huge. Anything that has to do with inflammation, whether it's arthritis, even just general chronic disease prevention or management, we want to follow an anti-inflammatory diet. And that is
Yes.
lean proteins, lots of fruits and vegetables, healthy fats. So healthy fats, we want our oils that are liquid at room temperature, like olive oil, avocado oil, limiting the ones that are solid at room temperature, like butter, bacon grease, those types of things. We want to try and limit. Those are the unhealthy pro-inflammatory types of fats. More good fats, good fat examples, nuts and seeds, walnuts, pecans, almonds. I almost said avocados, but avocados also falls in this category of healthy fats. Flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds. These are all good things you can add to your diet that are going to give you anti-inflammatory benefits. So healthy fats, lean proteins, fruits and veggies. I feel like I'm missing something important. Fiber is crucial as well. So you can get fiber from a lot of those fruits and veggies, but you can also get more fiber from beans, legumes, pinto beans, black beans, any form of bean is going to be good. Edamame, whole grain breads are going to give you that more of that fiber. Oats are another great source of fiber, like your oatmeal in the morning. Anything that's going to promote anti-inflammatory is going to really help minimize the effects of the arthritis and help keep those symptoms at bay. Won't heal it, but will definitely help.
Right. So I'm glad Becca said that also, because It's not that it's going to heal it, but it's going to relieve some of the pain from arthritis, the suffering of arthritis. And Becca, you made some really interesting points as always. You don't need me to confirm that, but eliminating, first of all, the hydration is big. So we've talked about this many times on the air. Hydration is important, right? So we've got to stay hydrated. And I think what may be happening for some of the people that we're communicating is that when summer comes, you
It's
really
hot.
yes, and you need to drink more water. And I think we're not probably getting enough of it, and that's causing some of the pain that people are suffering from. I'm taking a page out of Becca's book here because the hydration is critically important. And one of the questions that I've been asking people, Becca, when I hear from them, is, are you drinking at least 2 liters of water a day? And what I'm hearing is they're not. And so that makes an excellent point. Now, I try to drink 50% of my body weight every day. And I think that helps me stay hydrated. But I've noticed that sometimes people are saying, they're moving around a lot more during the summer and they're not taking the time to drink as much water. So that hydration is going to be important. But Becca gave us some really good points about eliminating, food that is going to cause inflammation. So we've got to take advantage of all of this that Becca is offering to us because it's going to improve our health and wellness. And I'm going to say this about you, Becca. In all this time that we've been together doing the broadcast, so many tips that you have given us. First of all, it brings up our level of awareness if we know something, but there's a whole lot of things we didn't know. And the reason I know that we didn't know them because I didn't know them either. Okay. So, like I always thought if you're going to be a vegetarian, I'll just use this one as a simple example, that you had to be a vegetarian every day of your life. Becca told us you don't have to be a vegetarian every day. You could be a vegetarian on Monday. You could be a vegetarian on Wednesday. You could eat meat on Tuesday. You could be a vegetarian on Friday. So all these little things that we don't know, Becca has given us a roadmap to improve our health and wellness. And so I will tell you this. I'm a firm believer that as I get closer to 70 than I am to 60, I will tell you this. Your input, your contribution to this website has been life-changing. And I'm not saying this to make anyone feel bad, but at my age, I'm not on any medication. And I contribute that to applying much of what you share. Now, I do give my wife a lot of credit because she makes sure she cooks right for me. She encourages me to,
She's
do the
doing
right
the day to
thing.
day. She's putting in the work.
But you and I will text. And in addition to that, just being on the broadcast, if we all apply the information that Becca gives us every month, just what she gives us each month to the month, we're going to improve our health and wellness. We will be able to possibly reduce some of the people that are on medication. They will be able to eliminate some of their medications. They will certainly be able to reduce. We may be able to improve our overall health and wellness that will enhance our life expectancy. So I'm going to credit you and your participation, your contribution to this website to being life-changing for us all. Because I know what it's done for me. And, I'm just going to personally cheat because the things you share with our audience, I don't want anyone out there to think that, Pastor Pope just brings her on the broadcast and he just sits to facilitate so that we can all be told by Becca what we need to do to improve. I'm applying it to my daily life. And so I'm saying to everyone, and I've heard from many of you who have said, and I know I'm taking up your time, Becca, but I've heard from many of you that have said, what Becca has shared with you has had an impact on your health. It's had an impact on your wellness. So I just had to take a moment to give you your shout out and give you your flowers today to tell you that it's life-changing what you're doing for all of us. And so I had to, for purely selfish reasons,
Well,
I had
thank
to
you
tell
so much. I really, always appreciate positive feedback, of course.
And it's been great. So thank you very much. So now I will let you continue now that I had to let everyone know how important this is though, because what you're doing once a month for all of us right now. I mean, they'd love to have you every week, but what you're doing for us once a month has already been life-changing. And now moving forward, let's really absorb everything that Becca shares with us. Let's implement it the entire month. And this is the month, we're halfway through the year. So let's see if we can finish this month strong. Everything that Becca shares with us every month, let's implement it. Let's execute. Let's get some vegetables on the grill. Let's get some fruit on the grill. Let's do some things that we haven't been doing so that we can really enhance our health and wellness. And I give it back to Becca.
All right. Well, another topic surrounding grilling and grill season that I wanted to cover, not quite as exciting about the food stuff, but very, very important is food safety. Because food safety, if we are not being cautious about the way that we are, washing our hands and cooking things properly, we could all get very sick. And some people, it might not be a big deal. You might notice you have some stomach upset for a day or two. You move on with your life. But as people age and they get older and they have a lot of comorbid conditions, it gets a lot harder for their body to fight these different foodborne illnesses that can come up. And you could end up in the hospital. It can be really serious. So something we should all be taking seriously. So just a few quick things I want to go over here real quick. First is making sure that we're cooking things completely, cooking them to the proper internal temperature. I recommend everybody get a stainless steel food thermometer with like an easy to read dial that has a shatterproof lens, so you can use it out on the patio when you're grilling, just to make sure you're grilling things to the proper temperature. And then another thing we want to do is make sure that we're always cooking on a clean grill. So before you even begin cooking, you want to make sure that your grill is clean. You don't know if there's anything left over on there from last time. We want to remove any of that debris and start with a clean surface. You wouldn't want to cook in a dirty pan on your stove. So we want to do the same thing when it comes to our grill. It's also important to remember to use separate utensils, cutting boards, plates, for your raw foods and your cooked foods. Raw foods are where those foodborne illnesses breed. So if we're using the same plate for our finished product that we use to bring the raw stuff out to the grill, you're significantly going to increase your risk of contracting a foodborne illness. So plates, cutting boards, utensils, knives, anything like that. We want to make sure we use separate or wash with nice hot soapy water between uses so that we're eliminating that risk there. Another thing to watch out for is marinades. So, a lot of times we want to marinate our things when they're raw so that they take in a lot of nice, good flavor. You might add it during cooking, and then you might want to have a little reserve for afterwards to dip your food in or just to pour on for a little extra flavor. We do not want to reuse marinade that has been used for our raw foods on our cooked foods. So if you're going to add it during the grilling process, I would still probably use separate marinade that you used on your raw food. A separate marinade for your raw foods from what you're going to add when you're grilling and then after the grilling is complete. So, you can kind of group those two together for the during and the after cooking. That can be one that you add on. But definitely don't reuse the marinade that you used for the raw food. And then finally, did you want to add something?
No, go ahead. You got another one.
Okay, last tip is just to leave the dish towels in the kitchen. I'm guilty of this myself. I will just reuse the same dish towel. It'll get wet, it'll hang and dry, I'll use it again. I have been trying to get better about switching it out more often because that is another breeding ground for bacteria. So make sure we're switching out those dish towels regularly. It can be wasteful to use paper towels and disposable wipes and stuff like that, but it's more important for us to remember to avoid the cross-contamination and not making ourselves sick in the process of trying to enjoy ourselves and this nice weather we're having.
So I want to ask Becca this quick question to clarify. And first of all, let me say to everyone, if you don't have a grill brush, as Becca said, you want to get it all off, use, and then wipe your grill down with olive oil. That always works. But I noticed, Becca, that you made a comment about not using the marinade can you pour it over when you put the meat on the grill and it's still raw?
I would say in the very, very beginning of the grilling, before any cooking's happened, that's fine. But if
That was a
we've gotten to the
question.
point where it's been, you're getting close to it being finished, you want to add a little bit more, I would definitely use a fresh batch.
Okay, because I always pour mine on as soon as I put the meat on the grill. And
That's
that was a
totally
question from me. That's it.
fine.
But I want to say, Becca, as always, thank you so much for giving us so much information that is going to enhance our health and wellness. And let's do our part to really stay healthy and well for the remainder of the summer. Becca, as always, thank you for being with us.